Hey guys, Joe Madden here, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. I am joined by Matt Perrault, co-host of the Bostonian versus the Books. Matt, how's the day going today?
Oh, it's good. I appreciate the invite. It's a big day because we actually have things to bet on because yesterday was all baseball and it was brutal. So at least hockey is back and at least the NBA playoffs are back for one game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got destroyed yesterday in baseball. I had one push and two losses. I just wasn't on the right side of that ball at all yesterday there. There were some lines that looked like tricks. I'm glad I didn't go with the favorite or the underdog that should have been the favorite in some of those games yesterday, like the Houston Astros. Couldn't
Mm.
work out why they weren't the favorite. They came on, lost that game. Couldn't get the 4 runs that I was hoping for to get over their total. It was just one of those days.
Yeah, I lost two bets by one run, so combined. So I was not really happy. I had a 2-0. I had the first five under in the Diamondbacks in the Dodgers game. It was 2-0 going to the bottom of the fifth. 3 runs scored by the Dodgers. I lose that. And I had the under in the Red Sox and the Astros, 8.5 and 6-3 final. It ends at 9. So yeah, I can feel the pain of just betting baseball. And I was just texting people saying, can I please get to Tuesday? Because I can't stand just betting baseball. I need other things to bet on besides just betting baseball. So I'm with you.
Absolutely. I felt your pain in that Diamondbacks game as well. When those Dodgers had the bases loaded there, I was like, what the heck is going to happen here? And they got that extra run pushing it over. And then I was on the San Francisco Giants on the run line, not able to cover that, just winning by one. So what a day in baseball, Matt. But you have been doing phenomenal in this industry. Why don't you tell everyone how you got into it?
Sure. So I am a longtime radio guy. So I graduated from college in 1999 and I knew I wanted to do radio. I wanted to be in mass media. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I was doing play by play in college and did 2 years of UMass women's basketball. And my first actually, job that I got was at the University of Virginia, being the voice of their women's team and doing a lot of football content for them. And kind of realized, in the early part of 2000 that in 2001, talk radio really was starting to explode. And I entered an ad for a job in Huntsville, Alabama, which didn't know a darn thing about Huntsville, Alabama, but I knew I wanted to be in radio and I knew I wanted to have some type of presence every day on a media site. So this is pre-internet, pre-StreamYard, pre-everything else that we were doing here. This is, just you had radio, you had print, and you had TV. So I got a chance to go down there and spend 5 years in what I call radio boot camp and really developed my talent as a talk show host, and then started this crazy career going all over the country here in America and going to Iowa and Nebraska, and then eventually going back home where I took a job after being home for a while, took a job in Houston, Texas for a year and a half, and they moved me to Vegas. And when I came here, I was doing, some sports gambling content, but not as much as I wanted to do. And then the rumor mill started to really populate that, PASPA here in America was going to get repealed. And so I went to my bosses and said, hey, I want to do a sports gambling talk show. And I was doing syndicated radio across the country. And they're like, it's not legal in any state but Nevada where you are. And I was like, yeah, but it's going to be. And I want to be on the forefront of this. I want to be ahead of the curve and I want to do this. And so I started one of the first ever syndicated sports gambling talk shows in America. And from there, I started to get a variety of different job opportunities and started working for, as a freelancer for, probably 5 or 6 different websites doing sports betting content. And then last November, I got a dream meeting with the owner of props.com who sat me down and said, you tell me what you want to do. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, what do you want to do? I want to build a job for what you want to do. And what came of that was a show called The Bostonian versus the Book. I'm the Bostonian. Dave Sharapan is the book. Dave is a guy who's been now working heavily in the media for the last 2 years, but him and I have been extremely close. He was a huge part of my radio show. And so in December, we started the show. For it was supposed to be a 1-hour show. It's kind of turned into a 2-hour show because we can't stop talking to each other. So we just kind of roll. And now it's been last night we debuted on Sports Grid TV. It's available in Canada. It's late nights. It's 11 p.m. Pacific time for us on a replay for us, but we follow the Pat McAfee show. And so things have just in 5 months, things have really taken off and really become the show is the best thing I've ever been a part of in my career. And it's been super fun to see it grow very quickly.
That is phenomenal to hear. Thank you, Matt, for breaking that down for us. So if people want to catch it live, where can they catch it live then, Matt?
So props YouTube just go to youtube.com and search for props and you'll see it. Or on my
Yep.
Twitter account at Sports Talk Matt, I pin the live stream on top of my Twitter account every morning. So Twitter is really where a lot of people consume the show. We have a really active live chat in our for the YouTube, so you can't really interact as much as you'd like on Twitter. We don't see it on Twitter, but our live chat is really funny, and we've seen people from all over the world now. You're from Australia. We had a couple of people who were fighting about who was the first one to find the show from Australia in the chat, going back and forth. So we've got people in England who listen every day. We have people in Canada who listen every day. So the beauty of the internet is that your audience just is kind of, you never really know where it's going to come from. So it's been really fun to see how quickly the show has gone global, aside from being really popular in America and growing quickly.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. You guys make sure you go check it out. Let's talk some NBA. We've got a great matchup tonight between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. What are you thinking for this series? Any look aheads? Do you think this one is going to go deep? Do you think it's going to be a strong defensive battle here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a brawl. And I look, full disclosure, I'm from Boston. Okay. So I'm wearing a Celtics hat for a reason. So it's not like I'm unbiased here coming at this. I'm very much emotionally attached to this game. But I will say this, I haven't bet a side in this game for game one because I'm going to bet whoever loses this game in game one, I will hammer in game two. So if Boston wins game one, I'll bet Miami game two or vice versa. But for tonight, I am on the under 204, and it's one of the lower totals we've seen. Boston's had two games this year. One game was 199. Another game was 201.5. Both those games were against Cleveland earlier in the season. And since then, we haven't seen a 204 for the Celtics in a really long time. Miami in the same boat, but the Heat and the Celtics both have been such under machines. I mean, every game except two against the Bucks, 5-2 to the under in that series. It was 4-2 to the under in the Philly series for Miami. And two of the three games this season in the regular season went under, including one in the early part of the year in November that went way under by 21 points. So I think this is a feel-out game. Boston might be cold tonight. I lean Miami. If you want a side, I do lean Miami to win tonight because it's a quick turnaround after a big emotional lift. Game 7, got to get on a plane, fly to South Beach, where the Miami Heat are extremely good at home and difficult to face. So it wouldn't stun me if this game is really low scoring and Miami wins like a 95-90 game tonight.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking at in this one. That defensive side for both of these teams is phenomenal. I think they can hold each other down. I know the Miami Heat are so good at getting those deep balls, but the Celtics defensively are going to be so strong tonight. And I'm with you. I think if the Heat, with the Heat being rested here, that home court advantage is major in this one. The 2 points does worry me, though. This could be one where you're looking to pay a little bit more and take the money line. It could be a 1 point game here. So it'll be an interesting one for sure. Matt, thanks for breaking that one down. Any thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors? Who do you think comes out of this series?
I think it's the exact opposite. Now, I have a 10-1 ticket on the Celtics to win it all. I have a 7-1 ticket on the Warriors to win it all. So
Okay.
if it turns out to be Mavericks Heat, I'm going to be really sad because it's the only two teams I don't have. I had the Suns, and my other ticket was on the Suns, and the Mavericks took care of them in Game 7. I think the opposite. I think this is an offensive series. With the way that the Mavericks are shooting threes, I just think we're going to see these. I don't know if the books can put a number high enough right now in the first couple of games. I expect high scoring games. I'll be on the over in game 1. I don't love laying 5.5 points on the Warriors at home, but I mean, against the Grizzlies, they either didn't cover the 6 or they won by 40. So it's kind of like feast or famine with these guys when it comes to their ability to cover these numbers at home. But talk about coming down off an emotional high. Tough for the Mavericks after a game 7 to turn around and go face Steph Curry and company at that building, which is going to be rocking for Golden State. So in game 1, I definitely lean towards the Warriors, but I will play the over in game 2. I do think it's Boston and Golden State. Like I said, I'm biased on it, but I do think those are the two better teams on either side that are going to come out of it. And I can't wait to see who's going to be favored if it is that matchup, because Boston's got home court. They had the better record in the regular season, and Boston can, I mean, this is what Boston fans live for. It's, bi-coastal, either coast, lots of travel. It's the 2-3-2 setup in for the NBA finals. So you got to take care of home court early, and then you travel all the way across the country in a 3-hour time change. And I think it would just be awesome theater. And I mean, if Jason Tatum at 24 wins a championship, the sky's already the limit for that guy, but we could see a new superstar face emerge for the NBA if Boston could find a way somehow to win a championship this year.
Oh, absolutely, we will. Okay, so let's turn to the NHL. We've got two fantastic matchups tonight. Any thoughts on either of these? We have the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers kicking it off, and the St. Louis Blues and the Colorado Avalanche. Now, last season in the first round, the Avs swept the Blues. You think this is possible for them again, or do you think the Blues will be able to compete? Or did you want to talk the Lightning and the Panthers game?
Oh yeah, we can break them both down.
Okay.
We'll start with Florida and Tampa because it's the first game on the docket, and then we'll get to the other one. Look, Florida is a team that I'm not trusting at the moment. I mean, Bobrovsky's got to be a concern if you're a Panther fan in terms of what he'll do in net, and that both power plays are going to be are lethal, and it'll be a gigantic moment early in this game whether the referees are going to keep calling everything and giving power plays like crazy. So if they're calling ticky-tack, cross-checking everything, and we're seeing, 5-on-3s, and we're seeing, a multitude of power plays, this series, every game for both these series, are going to fly over. I mean, we've seen the books already adjust this to 7. I bet 6.5 last night. I held my nose and bet the -130. I hate when books do this, where basically they don't want to go to 7. They're going to make you pay a premium to get to 6.5. So it's 130, 135 on the juice. And then eventually they all go to 7 anyway. So I'm glad I have the 6.5, but I do think there's a real chance. The last 2 games between Florida and Tampa flew over 6.5. First 2 games were unders, but the way these games are being called, and just the fact that, I mean, Vasilevsky's been good, but he hasn't been outstanding. He's great after a loss now. He's 17-0 in the postseason after a loss. So if Florida wins game 1, hammer Tampa in game 2. But I think we're going to see goals. I think we're going to see a lot of offense. I lean Tampa to win this game on the plus money, but this is going to be a really fun series, and really, I think, an offensive series for all whatever it goes, 5, 6, 7 games.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Tampa in the first period? They've won their last 4 first periods. Nice trend to go with here for the first period with them.
I like it. I mean, I do. I like Tampa. Period. In this season, in the series, I think Tampa's going to win. I like the goaltending better, and I like the pedigree better. And I mean, I still think that Carolina is the team that no one's talking enough about in the East. I think they're coming out of the East, and I think Carolina can beat either one of these 2 teams, because I'll take a defensive-minded hockey team that can roll out 3 lines and shut down the offense and not take dumb penalties and give odd man rushes. I just think that Carolina is a sleeper. They're crazy at home. I think their record now, when they go up by 2 goals, is like 46-1-1 on the year. So they don't give up leads. They're a boa constrictor. They get a lead and then they just suffocate you. And that type of hockey wins. We know that in the postseason. If you can play like that, go open in the first period, you go up, you get a 2-goal lead, and then you just sit on it. And it's hard to score. They get good goaltending. They got good defense. I mean, Carolina, I think everyone's talking about Tampa and Florida. Everyone's looking at the bright and shiny object. And I keep on pointing over to the Hurricanes going, I don't know. Those guys are really, really good.
They absolutely are. And you look at that defense, it is stifling. So I can see them in the cup. I have a futures on that, as well as the Calgary Flames. So, but the Calgary Flames, we all know, is a homer bet.
So you can bet this right now. We talked about this yesterday on the Bostonian versus the book. You can find this if you find the exacta. It's 19-1 for Calgary versus Carolina. I love that bet. Okay. FanDuel's got it. If you have FanDuel available to you guys, FanDuel's got it right now. It was 19-1 yesterday on this. It doesn't matter who wins. It's just the matchup will be Calgary versus Carolina, which I think has a really good chance of happening. And people are I do think Calgary beats Edmonton. And then I think there's a real good shot that you're going to see Calgary in the cup finals. And then you guys in Canada go crazy because you're desperate for a cup. I don't know, what is it, 25 years since you guys won a cup up there. So, I mean, Calgary is, the next great hope. Vancouver was it a couple of years ago. I mean, the Canadians last year, but I'm very curious to see if we get that. And that's worth a flyer. I mean, even if it's just a $10 bet. I mean, it's 19-1 right now, and it's got a decent chance of coming in.
Okay, you guys, go hit that for sure. I'm going to hit it right after this show. Let's look at the St. Louis Blues and the Colorado Avalanche. This is going to be a great series. Do you think the Avs sweep this one, or do you think the Blues have a fighting chance?
I think the Blues will win a game or 2. I don't think it's a sweep, but I don't think they have much a chance to advance. I mean, what's crazy about this series is I don't know how in the world the under comes in on any game. I mean, the old St. Louis Blues, the one that won the team that won the cup, has a better shot of beating this Avalanche team than this team. Every game this year went over between these two teams. No defense is going to be played. The Blues want to go up tempo. They want to score. They want to run and go up tempo. Same thing when it comes to what we'll see on the other side. I just don't know how they slow down the power play for Colorado. And I think the best player on the ice, or two best players on the ice, are in the Avalanche's side. So to me, I know there's goaltending questions with the Avalanche. I'm with you on that. There is that concern. And I do think that's how one game is won by the Blues. But I love the over 6.5. I did the same thing as I did in the first game. I paid the juice -130 and went with the over. It's 7 right now. I don't hate 7. At worst, I think you're going to push. Both these games scream 4-3, 5-2 to me tonight.
Absolutely. Either of these ones you think could go to overtime? I was leaning on the Lightning Panthers game to go to overtime with either.
Possibly. I mean, 3-3. I mean, we saw it a lot with the Rangers and the Penguins, where they had a couple of games that went 3-3, and you go to overtime, and you're cashing the over 6.5 when that happens. So I'm perfectly comfortable with those games going to overtime. I'm a little shy on the puck line right now, although it's been insane, the trend, the number of games that have been decided on the puck line. It's just because these open net goals are happening so consistently late that, it's a 5-minute sweat, and you're looking at this going, okay, are they going to get the open net? But teams are pulling their goalies with like 3 minutes to go. So I think that you can ride the trend of betting puck line and money line on these games. If you like Tampa, bet the +1.5, or bet even the alternate -1.5 if you want, and get real plus money on it. And the same thing going with the Avalanche tonight.
Okay, I like it, Matt. Can you remind everyone where to follow you on socials, as well as where your shows air?
Sure. Everything is at Sports Talk Matt. Pretty basic. It's been 10-year ride now of having that at Sports Talk Matt. We just kept the same thing. Props.com is where you guys can see all our videos. The Props YouTube channel and on Twitter is where we go live 1:00 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday, with Dave Sherapin and I for the Bostonian versus the Book.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you so much for joining me. You guys make sure you go over and give him a follow and check out his show. You definitely don't want to miss out on all of his bets. Matt, thank you. Appreciate your time today.
Anytime. Thank you.